Hey guys, welcome to the channel and welcome back to another video. On today's video, let's talk a few stocks and let's talk about the stock market and where we are, guys. If you're joining me, welcome, welcome, welcome. Glad you're here. Thank you for being here. Give me a thumbs up and let me know that you can hear me okay and our audio is good. Let's see if we got it here. Let's see. Boom, boom. I think we're good. I think we're good. Guys, give me a thumbs up and let me know. Let's jump into this conversation today. We want to talk about the fact that there is a stock out there, a company out there that could be the next NVIDIA called Palantir. And I want to take some time out today to kind of dig into this stock a little bit, guys. So, first and foremost, I appreciate you coming in here. I come on here at 7 p.m. usually on Thursdays, sometimes Wednesdays, but always on Thursdays. And to sort of recap where we at with the larger picture of either the U.S. economy or the larger picture of stocks. Maybe there's something that's happening that's big that we want to talk about to regular average investors, and that's what we talk about on here. So recently, I've been giving you guys some things to look at and think about in the stock market in terms of NVIDIA, right? And stocks that may be like NVIDIA that you need to be looking at and thinking about as a regular retail investor. And I've been trying to highlight NVIDIA because it's a stock that's been going crazy and some other companies, right? And so on this video, we're going to talk about a stock that I've been looking at lately for the last few weeks and talk about what I think could be a winner down the road or something to consider down the road. We'll look at what happened in the market today as well with NVIDIA, right? And then we'll check out, guys, first things first, let me know that you can hear me. Give me a thumbs up with that little thumb there right below where you're looking at on your screen. Someone said, let's see what we got in the chat. Let me know where you're coming from too. What city, what state, all that good stuff that you're in. And we're going to jump into it shortly. Namisha, good to have you here. Ted, thanks for being here. Appreciate you. Let's see. Helen's in the house. Good to have you, Helen. Sam checking in from Connecticut. Welcome in here, Sam. Do me a favor. Let me know you can hear me with a little thumb, guys. So I make sure my audio's right if you can. So before we really jump, just a few housekeeping things before we get started, because we're going to dig into these stocks. We're going to dig into this Palantir a lot closer. And I want you guys sort of follow me on that so you can kind of see how I look at stocks and so forth. Yeah, there was a big sell-off today for sure. Atlanta, Mrs. Moore is in the house. Good to have you here. So before we jump in, guys, check out smartmoneybro.com, the website. Over there, you can get coaching where I do some long-form coaching, mentoring, and you can get on my schedule over there. You can also join our membership. I stopped the membership on YouTube. I disabled the membership button here on YouTube, so you can't join this channel on YouTube, but you can join me over at our membership site. You can get that from smartmoneybro.com, or you can see the first link in the description box on YouTube is our membership. You can check us out there. Over there, we do exclusive lives. I did an exclusive live earlier today. We'll talk about real estate. We talk more in depth about investing, managing money, growing money, all that good stuff over there, sort of behind the scenes, a little more in depth than I give over here on YouTube. But join the membership over there. There's a monthly subscription over there. There's a fee, right? There you can do it for free, but you can also be a supporter and also join over there. There's also some VIP 101s and all that good stuff. So there's a link to that down low. As you guys know, I always partner with Mint Mobile. Just want to get these housekeeping things out of the way. Mint Mobile for premium wireless services. And I save money. And that's what this channel is all about, right? Saving money, so you can have more money to invest, right? It takes about 15 minutes or less. You can keep your phone number over at Mint Mobile. World-class customer service, guys. No box stores, no employees. So they pass all that savings on to me and you, right? There's a link to Mint Mobile in the description box below as well if you're interested in saving money on your premium wireless service. So let's sort of jump into it, guys. There's other free stuff down there I don't have to mention. You can check it out in the description box. Welcome in here, by the way, from LinkedIn, from X, Twitter, from Instagram. I don't think I have anybody in here from Facebook today, but welcome in all of you guys. Thanks for being here and hanging out with me. East St. Louis is in the house. Whoo, East St. Louis, right? New to investing, just bought a handful of NVIDIA individual shares. John, John, if you're new to investing, you need to make sure you diversify your portfolio. Don't put all of your money in just one stock. Be careful about that. Somebody said I sold all my Palantir recently at a loss and going all in NVIDIA. It's going to be a $6 to $10 trillion company. Film masters. Just like I told John, make sure you're spreading all your money around. You don't have to take all your money and put it in one stock, right? You can invest in various stocks, and that's the better way to do it. Thanks for the thumbs up. Appreciate you guys. Pikeville, Kentucky's in the house. Thank you for letting me know you can hear me, Helen. Again, we got Wichita, Kansas here. James Taylor from Illinois. No S on the end. Illinois. Fred from Alabama. Good to have you. We got Atlanta in the house. Let's see here. Arizona. Namisha's from Arizona. Ella McCrae is checking in from Greensboro, North Kakalaki. That's North Carolina, right? Brooklyn in the house, right? Brooklyn's in the house. Boom, boom, boom. Greetings from New Zealand. Good to have you. Inglewood, California. Before I go further, guys, I want to look at what happened to NVIDIA today. I want to look at that, and then we can get back into looking at this new possibility to maybe be the next NVIDIA, which is Palantir. So let's take a look at what happened today, guys, real quick, because I want to sort of just kind of make sure you guys are cool. Since we've been talking about NVIDIA, NVIDIA had a big sell-off today, right? Flat out, they had a big sell-off. Let me just kind of share my screen with you guys. So I always like to share the screen. I'm getting much better at that as time goes on. I'm just learning and getting better, right? So when I look at NVIDIA today, here's what happened. S&P 500 closes slightly lower after briefly going over the 5,500 mark. NVIDIA takes a breather. Live updates. S&P 500 today after briefly passing the 5,500 level. By the way, this S&P 500 has had, I think, 30 or 31 record-breaking days so far this year. That's a lot. That's a whole lot, right? That's really a lot for an election year, by the way. Let's see here. It says the broad market index fell 0.25% to end just below 5,500. Earlier in the session, the S&P 500 rose as much as 0.34% to hit a new high. The NASDAQ dropped today to finish it at where it's at, and the Dow Jones jumped to close at over 39,000. Seasonally adjusted, it's a low volume period for markets, and there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of not driving things on a day-to-day basis. And then it goes on to talk about, let's see here, goes on to talk about NVIDIA. There's NVIDIA's numbers, by the way, for the day. Down, it boosted up to 140, went back down to 130, and everybody's like, some people are like, what happened? NVIDIA crashed. Or no, NVIDIA didn't crash, folks. Relax. It's okay. This happens. This is the normal ebb and flow of the stock market. And you've got to be prepared to deal with the normal ebb and flow of the stock market, right? So it closed at 130. Well, it closed at 130. It's still $10 more per share than what it was when it first split a few weeks back, right? But anyway, the point is that there was a sell-off. This is what happens in the market, right? It's what happens. Stock goes way up. People that have 100, 200, 500, 1,000, 10,000 shares, they want to cash out a little bit, right? And that's okay, right? So if you look at the 5-day from NVIDIA, I mean, right, you're still way up there. You're still doing just fine. But the kicker is, this is the month over month right here for NVIDIA. The kicker with all of these stocks, guys, is when you're investing in individual stocks, you got to be ready to ride a wave. And that's why I typically don't do a whole lot in individual stocks, but we're doing a whole lot more. I am into individual stocks on my at my membership site. We're going to start doing some things over there with individual stocks. So that's, not trying to, tell you more about that. I already told you about that, but just to say, hey, I don't normally do individual stocks for these types of reasons, because you get to this point where you start stock watching every single day. And then after every single day, now you're watching a stock twice a day, then 3 times. Now you're watching it move throughout the day, right? If you have so much money in one stock. This is why I tell people, be very careful and always diversify your portfolio. I get a little nervous when I hear people say what I heard in the chat earlier. I got rid of that and I'm all in on NVIDIA. Yeah, that makes me a little squeamish as a investor because I'm saying you may not want to be all in on one stock right now. But if you're just figuratively speaking that you're all in, that's cool, right? But again, don't have all your money wrapped up in one stock. Now, like I'm looking at NVIDIA right here. This is a lot of growth in a month. That's a lot of growth in a month, even though it peaked up here at 140. And then it went back down to 130 or peaked near 140 and went back down to 130 today. That's still a whole bunch of growth. And when you see like what you see happen today in NVIDIA, where a stock goes up then comes back down, there's a good possibility if that's a good solid company, it's a buying opportunity, right? Goes up, comes back down. That down it could represent a buying opportunity. I don't foresee NVIDIA going down to 125, 120, and then by the time we get to end of next week, they're at 110 and 103. I don't really see that happening, but if it does happen, it could be a buying opportunity, right? Could be a buying opportunity. It says NVIDIA declined 3.5% after rising earlier in today. The chip maker temporarily unseated Microsoft as the most valuable public company a couple of days ago. Shares have climbed more than 160% this year as the AI boom continues to boost equities, right? So it happens. And the fact that the S&P went down a little bit today shows you how huge NVIDIA is for the S&P. NVIDIA is huge for the S&P because we see it go down. Now we see, the S&P went down a little bit. Not that it carries 30 and 40% of the S&P. It doesn't. It carries maybe 7% or so, close to 7%. But the S&P kind of moves with technology because technology is so heavy. It's weighted so heavily, especially on the top heavy, the top, max 7, top 10, top 20 is a lot of tech, a ton of tech, right? So just wanted to show that to you guys before we jump into Palantir and what's going on with this company that I want to kind of explore and talk to you guys about, just to say, relax. If you see a headline, NVIDIA, gold crashes, or relax. This is normal, right? It happens. Up, down, up, down, up, down, ultimately ending up. Okay. Just want to be sure about that because we have a lot of new investors in here. And as a new investor, you have to be able to stomach the downs. You have to be able to make sure that you see the downs as opportunity, right? So it'll get it. Hey, if it goes back to 120, wonderful. Great place to jump in, perhaps, right? So just wanted to kind of point that out. Sunset on the Ocean, how you doing? Alvira, good to see you back in here. What caused the sell-off, Namisha? Could just be a matter of a lot of firms, a lot of people wanting to pull out and cash out, right? Slow day, low activity. A lot of folks want to cash out. I don't think there was anything huge or big that happened in the news that caused that sell-off, but people just want their money. Think about it. If you got into NVIDIA 2 years ago and you bought it at $98 a share and you rolled the wave all the way up to $1,245 a share, and now you have all this money, perhaps you want to do a little pull, right? And take some cash. And sometimes that happens all at once. Sometimes it happens here and there. It just depends. I think that's kind of what happened. Appreciate the sub, LHJ. Thank you so much. Let's see. I'm new in stock market. I just buy one share of NVIDIA. I'm thinking about buying Walmart. Just have 2 stocks for now. Understand it, right? You do your research. This is a great video for you to watch if that's you, right? Because I'm going to show you some things to think about if you're reviewing a stock. So Palantir Stock, guys. Let's jump into Palantir. Right? Today, we're talking about Palantir, ticker symbol PLTR. This company could be the next NVIDIA. Will it grow at the same pace? Probably not. But is it poised to grow? Yes, I think it's poised to grow. And I'm going to tell you why in just a bit. Let me say that what is Palantir, right? Let's actually go to their website since we're sharing screens. Let's go to their website and pull them up. And just kind of thumb around a little bit to see who we're dealing with and who we're talking about, if you will. Let's see here if I can find it. There it is right there. There's their home, Palantir, right? Letter to shareholders pops up top. AIP Foundry, that's a piece of their software. Gotham, a piece of their software. Get AI into operations. Foundational software of tomorrow. Okay. Foundry, an operating system for the modern enterprise. Gotham, an operating system for global decision making. Apollo, an operating system for continuous delivery. Category defining technology. Palantir ranked #1 vendor in AI, data science, and machine learning. Ranked #1 in worldwide artificial intelligence software study. Named a leader in the AI ML platforms by independent research firm. Palantir ranked #1 by Model Ops vendor. Okay. They're tooting their horn on their website, which they should do. From zero to use case in days, move past demos, get hands-on keyboard, and push to production. And so they talk about some of their boot camps, what they do, what makes Palantir platforms powerful. We're going to jump in and talk about what they do. But this is Palantir. And let's figure out, what do they do? Palantir is it's basically, guys, it's an American software company. And you'll know it's an American software company because the founder, who I'll give you a little information about later, the founder of Palantir, which I think they had 4 founders and one of them still owns it. How long they've been around? 2000, I'm not sure. 2008 maybe? I'm not sure. But Palantir, you know they're an American company because they take kind of a strong stance on certain issues, right? So they're known basically, and I'm reading off of another website. They're known for their data fusion and mining, a process that involves analyzing a large volume of information and combining data from different sources into useful insights, is what it says about them. The company is unique because it's significant exposure, and this is the big piece right here. This is what you need to know if you consider a company like or consider Palantir, if they're going to grow, if they're not going to grow. The company, the main uniqueness about this company is that they've had significant exposure to government clients and government missions. This is a company that has been specializing in supporting the federal government agencies using surveillance and big data to identify and target people and countries and so forth in conflict zones, right? Borders for policing. So Palantir was/is a software surveillance company who was primarily doing work for the government for many years, who have now ventured into the corporate world, the commercial world, right? They have tons and tons of patents, right? I think I read somewhere, I think they have over, was it 1,500 patents? According to, I think I read something on either Morningstar or Yahoo Finance, Palantir sort of still has what they call in the investing world a moat around it, which means, okay, for example, as I talked about on another live, Coca-Cola has a moat around it, a brand moat. Here's what I mean by a moat. Coca-Cola can say, there can be another company who sells the same exact product as Coca-Cola, soft drink in a can or a bottle. Same product, but guess what? 99.9% of us on this planet, we're going to choose a Coca-Cola product before we choose any other product with the same name, or I'm sorry, with a different name, but the same contents, right? So what that means is Coca-Cola has sort of a brand moat around it, which means it's sort of shielded because of its brand. So it's built sort of a moat around itself so other people can't really compete with it just on its brand. Other companies have a moat around it as well, because of its brand or because of its could be its software, it could be some of its engineering, its equipment, whatever it could be. Other companies have this moat around them that you can't compete against them. And so Palantir, sort of like Coca-Cola, has a small, narrow, what they call moat around it. That doesn't mean it's going to, go to, $1,000 per share next month because it has a moat around it. It's just saying that basically Palantir has strong customer relations, and they have a government experience, government space that puts it in a space that other competitors right now aren't really touching, can touch soon. But because of the background of Palantir doing all of this government work in terms of cybersecurity and all that good stuff, sort of a narrow moat, economic moat around it, right? Palantir's competitors may not have some of the solutions that they have, some of the solutions that they are able to customize, because again, Palantir has done work for various federal government agencies, so they must take their stuff and customize it for government agencies, right? So, DOD is not the same as the VA. The VA is not the same as the Department of Energy. The Department of Energy is not the same as this. The thing about the federal government, right, which I can speak to because I've worked for the federal government for more than 20 years. All agencies aren't talking to each other. Okay. So when you have a company like Palantir that has to come in and customize for a specific agency, that ability separates it from other competitors, because now when Palantir goes out to the commercial world, Palantir can now go into a commercial or a specific business, say, look, we have the experience customizing all of our stuff because we did it for many, many years for the federal government, for different government agencies. So now Palantir can go into this company and say, we can customize what you need. They can go into this company and say, we can customize what you need, and et cetera, et cetera. That is sort of a little competitive edge right now in terms of what they do, right? So that's sort of a competitive advantage. And when you're looking for companies to grow, you always want to look for a competitive edge when you're looking for companies. So something to think about. Not to mention, if you look at Palantir's competitors right now, you don't know their names. You couldn't name a competitor of Palantir. There's 3 or 4 big ones, meaning in terms of market share, but you don't know them, but you've heard of Palantir, right? Not to mention they have some intellectual property stuff that could be good for them as well. But let me stop sharing my screen for a moment, guys. Bear with me here. Let's see here. Let me actually pull up an old article, because sometimes when you look at some of these newer companies, I won't say newer, but when you look at some of these companies you're looking at taking off right now because of AI, it's always interesting to go back and look at some of their previous articles and information about the company. So what I'm doing here, guys, just so you know, I'm giving you sort of a deeper dive into a company that could be the next NVIDIA, right? Could be the next NVIDIA stock. Right now, Palantir is trading at a low, right? And we'll dig into that. Somebody said Snowflake, and so there's some other competitors out there. Salt Lake City in the house. Good to have you. Let's see. You all want to hop on the PLTR train? Come on, hop. Been a holder since it was at $7, and now we'll talk about where they are right now. But let's do this real quick. Let's look at an older article real quick about Palantir, and let's see if this is the older. Yeah, this is from a couple of years ago, guys. Okay. A little less than a couple of years. How Palantir's tech-based patriotism and politics grew into a multi-billion-dollar company. Again, this is from a couple of years ago, but it's always interesting to go back and get a feel for what was said about the company in the past, because sometimes you need that information about the past to make a decision about today. It said, this was on CNBC, Palantir, more than any other tech startup of the last few decades, has been closely tied to government work, often secretive in nature. Absolutely. Its CEO, Alex Karp, who's still the CEO today, who helped found the company with Peter Thiel, is an outspoken patriot. patriot and advocates for the use of technology in national defense. So just 2 to 3 years ago, they were getting all these federal government contracts and they were championing their patriotism. It's an American country. The CIA was an early investor in the company, and the intelligence agency, as well as the FBI and NSA, are all clients. Though Palantir has diversified into corporate work, not so much 2 years ago as they are right now, and diversified its big data across sectors, including healthcare. And there he is. That's the CEO, right? He's speaking on the Russia-Ukraine war, which, a lot of CEOs won't come out and take this stand, but they sort of take stands on things and so forth. It says Palantir is no stranger to politics. The data mining and software company, got its start with government contracts, and 19 years since its inception, Palantir's government work is still central to its business. This was 2 years ago, remember. At its start, Palantir's business came directly from the FBI, the NSA, and even the CIA, whose venture into QTEL was one of the company's earliest backers. CEO and founder Alex Karp is a self-proclaimed American patriot. For Karp, data and defense are intertwined, and his company's contracts with government agencies reflect a commitment to leveraging technology to bolster America. The company's earliest splash was reportedly helping to find Osama bin Laden over a decade ago. And this year, 2022, Palantir began work for the Ukrainian military operations. Think about that for a second. While we're talking about this company who's now taking all of this information, all of this ability, all of this stuff to the corporate world and not just to the federal government world. In between, the company's patriotism has prompted some criticism internally and beyond. Palantir's work with the U.S. ICE, right, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, infamously prompted a flurry of internal employee petitions, sparkling nationwide debates about tech's role in the U.S. and the line between protecting civil liberties and facilitating government duty. So this is Palantir 2 years ago. What Palantir is actually doing for its customers, stateside or international, public or private, remains often unclear. A lot of secretiveness behind Palantir and what they did or do in terms of their surveillance, right? From the start of the company's goals were secretive, fitting for the Department of Defense or FBI. However, even as $16.7 billion market cap publicly traded company, Palantir's work remains a little bit opaque or blurry, right? Karp was the first Western CEO to visit Ukraine and meet with the President Zelensky during this year's conflict. And its earnings call, Palantir Chief of Business Affairs and Legal Officer Ryan Taylor confirmed that the company is on the forefront of problems that matter most in the world. Interesting. Remember, this article is 2 years ago. So let me stop sharing. Okay, what I'm getting at here, guys, is that Palantir is interesting as a company. Nowadays, they don't just have their clients as government contracts with, in the CIA, FBI, NSA, you name it, right? Department of Defense. Nowadays, Palantir provides solutions for the automotive industry, cybersecurity, the financial industry, insurance, right? Law enforcement, right? You name it. Still defense, right? Insider threat stuff is what I read, right? So you have to look at Palantir. How would I say this? Give me an analogy. You got to look at Palantir like that child movie star that played on a TV sitcom when they were 8 years old. And when they get a little older, they hope they can transfer that into the movies, right? In other words, the question becomes, can Palantir translate their success and growth with government work into major success in the technology space outside of the government, right? That's the question. Let me pull this up too, guys, because we're on this thing here. Let me go ahead and look at the very top of their website. They have the CEO's latest letter to shareholders. So let me pull that up real quick, if you don't mind, guys. And we're just going through this. I hope you guys are hanging in there with me. We're just going through this to see, could this be a company that could ultimately be bigger than NVIDIA or be NVIDIA, right? So let me share my screen real quick here. I want to look at the letter. If we can find it, let's see here. Here it is right here. Okay. So, letter to shareholders. I'm sharing my screen with you guys. This was a little over a month ago. Let's get it in English. I want to read it in English, right? Let me see what else they had it in. They had it in France, and I guess that's German, Deutsch. All right. So, letter to shareholders. Our views about the ways in which software could be built and what it was capable of accomplishing for years had been derided as fringe. We were routinely told by investors that building technical infrastructure for the enterprise market, let alone government, was the sunset and quickest way to run a business into the ground. This is him talking to shareholders. The market has, however, shifted and quickly. Our business is now growing at a scale and pace that even our most ardent advocates would have been hard pressed to say was likely or even possible. He goes on to say, we generated $634 million in revenue in the first quarter of 2024 alone, representing a 21% increase over the prior year and surpassing the upper end of our guidance. He goes on to say, in the 3 months ending March 31st of 2024, we earned $106 million, the largest quarterly profit in our company's 20-year history. And he goes on to show in a graph, right, the quarterly earnings, how it's gone up recently. Now, why recently? Perhaps the same way NVIDIA went from, $400 per share to $1,200 per share. The boom in technology, the boom in AI, the boom in what they offer. Our central insight and most foundational commitment is that the software products we're building, their strength and sophistication must remain at the center of our entire company. So we've been investing and refining our enterprise software platforms for years. And he goes on to talk about, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but here he gives a graph of the commercial revenue, starting with quarter one of 2023 up to quarter one of 2024. And what do you notice? Growth, 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 right? So he talks about unbridled and growing demand in terms of what they offer. And he shows this to say, hey, we're not just government anymore. We are now moving into the commercial space with our technology, what we bring, what we offer. It says we anticipate that our U.S. commercial business, which accounted for 24% of our revenue last quarter, will remain one of the most significant drivers of our growth in the near term, right? It is anything but inevitable that our most compelling discoveries as a culture will find useful commercial and industrial applications. So the software platforms we have built make possible quantifiable, and transformative results for the enterprise. So this is what he's saying to his shareholders. Obviously, it's going to be on the wonderful side, right? He goes on to talk about a few issues towards the end there, but it's pretty positive based on what he gave his address to shareholders recently. So what does that mean for you as an investor, as somebody say, you know what, I missed NVIDIA 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago. I missed NVIDIA. What's going on with Palantir? Perhaps Palantir could be the next NVIDIA. Perhaps, right? Let's go ahead and look at where they're at today, Palantir. Let's just look at them, what they're trading at today. And I'll just pull it up from Google, right? Palantir Technologies. This is what they're trading at right now. Showed you NVIDIA earlier. This is actually Palantir. Let's see. Okay, there it is. $25 per share. Now, he gave you all that good stuff about quarter one of 2024. Here's where they are. This is where they had that big jump, right? But as you look here, this is where they've been since the beginning of year to date, right? Year to date, up 54%. And year over year, last year this time, they were trading at 15 bucks. And I think we had somebody in the chat that bought them at $7, somebody said, right? 15 bucks. Now, okay, as we start to see a little climb, a little dip right here, right? We start to see a little climb today, $25.56. 5 years. And I'm showing you 5 years because I want you to see the full graph on this, right? Remember, past performance is not an indication always of future growth. What we're looking at is growth potential with Palantir. You may be saying, wow, Palantir hadn't done nothing if you pull it out 5 years, right? Right? No, it hasn't. But here's the difference. The climate we were in 2021, 2022, coming off of the pandemic, that climate is way different than the climate that we're in right now and moving forward, right? So you got to be thinking about that as an investor. Here's some recent articles about strong results lifted Palantir Technologies. Let's see here. Why the Palantir stock rebounded and is just getting started. Why Palantir rallied this week. So I want to make sure you understand the full totality of what we're looking at here in terms of a stock, right? And the full totality of the stock is you got to take in consideration the good, the bad, the ugly, the where we are in terms of industry, where we are in terms of what they do and how they add to what's going on out there in terms of technology, right? So that's something that anybody in here own Palantir. Let me know. Give me a shout out in this chat, guys. If you know Palantir, or you know something about ontology, right? Which somebody mentioned, right? And if you know the potential ethic problems with ontology, right? There's some, and I'm going to talk about some of these ethical issues, right? I'm going to talk about some of these ethical problems and issues with Palantir that has been an issue, that has come up, that you as an investor should know. Yes, this stock could grow. It could grow. But you got to know all of the issues surrounding it. Guys, do me a favor. You got to smash the like button for me. Hit the like button. Hit the thumbs up button for me, right? You got to hit the thumbs up button so this information can get out to more and more people. Do me a favor and hit that like button. Thank you, Mrs. Moore, for giving me that shout about 15 minutes ago about the like buttons. But you got to hit it, guys. Let's see here. It's hype. Somebody said it's hype about Palantir all the time. That's all I came to say. Do your research, check trends. Yes, yes, and double yes. Do your research and check trends. It could be hype, but it could not be. You just don't know that at this point. That's why you got to do your research. Thanks for saying that and pointing that out. Absolutely. Right? Absolutely. Somebody says slowly increasing my position in Palantir and NVIDIA. Somebody said you never put all your eggs in one basket talking to somebody else. Somebody said 95 shares, Nick. Let's see here. Somebody said, let's see here. Palantir has no debt and a ton of cash. They do have some debt, but it's not the type of debt that it's other types of debt they have, but they have a little bit of debt, but it doesn't have a lot of debt. So that's a good thing about the company, right? Somebody says, let's see, boom, boom, boom. I'm not sure what they said. Let's see what means this ontology. I don't want to dig into ontology. Okay. But it's a piece of why people may end up having a problem with Palantir. And some people don't have a problem with it. We'll talk a little bit about it in a bit. And somebody said, never heard of Palantir before. Somebody says, I own 3 shares. I still have a conflict with ethical issue and haven't bought yet. That's something to think about when it comes to Palantir, right? But again, it's an American software company specializing in big data analytics and software. Founded back in 2003 by 3 or 4 guys. One of them is still the owner, right? Peter something and some other guys. All right. They have products. That can change and morph. And one of the things about Palantir is not it's not cheap for companies to use their service. So one of the things about Palantir you got to know is some people question, is it just a consulting firm or is it a software firm or is it both, right? There's a lot of issues. There's some privacy and ethical issues about surveillance, right? Palantir has faced a lot of criticism because of its involvement in surveillance and data privacy, right? A lot of critics, a lot of people that have ethical issues with Palantir argue that its technology can be used to breach civil rights and breach civil liberties and breach freedoms and infringe upon freedoms, right? Right. So the company itself has faced some public scrutiny because they've worked with NSA, FBI, CIA, Department of Defense. They're going to face some lack of transparency issues, right? That's come up. Somebody said, I own some Palantir. Yeah, I own 20 shares, bought some 3 months ago. It's a sleeper. Could be a sleeper, right? Somebody said, best advice we ever got was buy things people need and want. Researching never hurts. Never hurts. Good point. Let's see here. Somebody said, yeah, all money ain't good money. Absolutely. Somebody said oncology will pave the way for human and machine evolution. And that, Zach, is the issue, right? That could be an ethical issue. Jay said, I own 105 shares. Okay, cool. Somebody said close to 1,300 shares. Dollar cost average is 12.37. Somebody said, so yeah, there's some folks in here that own, right? Back in, I think they went public. When did Palantir went public? In 2020, I believe, right? They were a private company prior to that. 2020, 2021, they went public on the New York Stock Exchange. Now, some folks, here's another thing to think about. Some folks are saying, when is Palantir going to break into the S&P 500? It's not a part of the S&P 500 at this point. It's publicly traded for the last 4 years, but it's not on the S&P 500. Some people are anticipating in the next few months, it will become a part of the S&P 500, right? And we looked at the stock. The stock's performance in the past, since the last 3 or 4 years, has been a little bit volatile, right? Right. So there's a lot of interest in it, and there's a lot of concern about it at the same time. Something for you to make sure you understand. Not to mention that the CEO is out there, as Mr. Patriot. Right there, right? But Palantir is a major player in the data analytics place. Government, commercial. If its government subsides a little bit, goes down a little bit, and they become more and more of a player in the commercial space, and this is globally in the commercial space. Yeah, it's based in America, but this could be, their global reach could be major for companies all around the world, right? We're talking India, right? We're talking maybe not China, but we're talking India, right? We're talking, obviously Canada, everything Latin America, everything Europe, Africa, right? And think about what it could be used for. Lots of applications, right? Combating terrorism, supply chains, as I said earlier, financial markets. I mean, lots of places in the business world, in the corporate world, right? So it's got its roots in national security, and now it's trying to expand over into the commercial market. These ethical issues remain, right? Now, what I probably won't do, and I was going to do it, was to pull up some of their latest earnings. But I suggest that you look at their 10Q. I suggest you read their 10Q. Look at their debt. Look at their revenue growth, right? I think when you look at that 10Q, you're going to see some nice performance in terms of revenue and growth, right? That went over the expectations, right? And went over year to year last year where they were, right? So You're going to see that. You're going to see somebody earlier in the chat. They mentioned something. I think it was, I can't find it, about debt. They don't have any real significant debt, right? Other than the little bit of small debt. I think it's on the back of their reserves or something like that, long term, but no real debt, right? Means they have good liquidity, right? In terms of their revenue versus their debt. So solid. Their financials, they don't look great in terms of their stock price shooting up and all that. No, but just because a company's stock price is not trading at 70, 80, 90, 200, 500, 1,000 doesn't mean it's not a good company. Remember, they only been on a publicly traded company for 4 years. But they do have a significant or at least some financial strength to go off of. The kicker is their investments. The kicker is maintaining low debt. Their kicker is, can they translate what they did for the government into the commercial space? Right? And a lot of people are kind of comparing it to NVIDIA, but it's in a slightly different area. It's a little more niche than NVIDIA. NVIDIA has a lot of different niches, right? So this is something to think about. Palantir Stock. Now, why am I doing the video is because, hey, people have been talking to me or sending me questions. What do you think about Palantir? What do you think about Palantir? I said, let's look into Palantir. Let's do a video. Let's talk about it. And it could be a big growth stock coming up, right? There's risk, right? There are risk, and you have to know what the risks are, right? What are privacy and surveillance? That's an ethical concern, guys. Privacy and surveillance is an ethical concern. Their software, I believe it integrates into lots of data, and it gets itself into things that, ethically speaking, people might have a problem with. It could raise concern, right? Their ability to do surveillance, mass surveillance for the government agencies, infringing on people's rights, infringing on people's privacy, right? What are they doing with the data? The data collection, concerns about what they're doing with data, how that data is going to be used, right? Right? They still have high profile contracts with the federal government, with federal government agencies. That's law enforcement, immigration, the intelligence agency, NSA, right? ICE. So people also have an issue with their transparency and non-accountability, right? Secrecy, so to speak. What does that mean for oversight, right? So these are all things that if you're investing, if you're the type of person that says, I don't want to invest in a company that I don't feel ethically good about, maybe this is something that you got to think about, right? Guys, hit the like button for me. Hit the like button for me. As I said, Mint Mobile's down below. We got our link to 24 Laws of Money in the description box. We also have our link to our member site where we're going to be digging into investing in single stocks, talking more about real estate and all that type of stuff. Somebody says, are they the leader in their space? They are definitely a leader in their area. If you look at market share, they have a nice chunk of market share in their area. There are competitors. There's 3 or 4 main competitors, but there's other competitors, right? Somebody said, should I buy Palantir Technologies instead of Walmart? That's going to be up to you, Seth. You got to make that decision. Somebody said, I love Palantir, but I really wish I bought it when they were $16. Look, they're $25 right now. Is that what I said? $25? What are they trading at? 25? $25 right now? What's to say they won't get to $40? What's to say they won't get to $60? We just don't know. And you've got to make that decision. Right? But you got to think about the ethics as well. So could it get to where NVIDIA is? Possibly. I don't think it's going to grow at the same pace, but it could be something to really strongly consider, right? It faces its challenges when it comes to valuation and so forth, right? It faces its challenges, but there's a potential there. There's a potential. It's a high risk investment. I'm not saying go drop, tons and tons of money into Palantir. I'm not giving you advice on what to buy and what not to buy. I'm giving you things to think about. If it's able to scale its commercial operations and begins to constantly, consistently see profitability on a regular quarterly basis, you're going to see the stock go up, right? That's how it's going to work. So we got some folks in here that looks like we got a number of folks in here that are invested in it, right? Just keep in mind the corporate world, the government world, two different things. Here's the kicker. What you got to know about when you have government contracts. This is what you got to know. When you have government contracts, I don't care if you're technology, software, construction, doesn't matter what you are. When you have government contracts, there's lots of restrictions on you. Tons of restrictions, right? Lots of law, lots of policies, lots of procedures that you must follow. And I know that, obviously, guys, as you guys may or may not know, some of you know, some of you don't know, but I've managed government contracts for a lot of years. So understand that when you have a government contract, there's a lot of restrictions on you. And that's for a reason. One of the reasons there's a lot of policy, procedures, rules, and so forth when you do government contracts, when you're a company that has a government contract, is because there's so many different ways and people who want to sue the government, right? So the government's, puts all these things in place to, thwart litigation, right? Policies, procedures, there's laws that must be followed that come down from Congress, etc. So it can be very rigid when you're doing something and you have a government contract. However, when you leave government contract and you go into the commercial world, in the commercial world of contracting, there's way less restrictions. Not that there's no restrictions. We know there's tons of restrictions still, but it's less than when you're doing work for the federal government. So you think about a company like Palantir. How is what they did for the government now going to translate into the open market or into the commercial world? Is it going to translate smoothly? Is it going to mean that for a company like Palantir, they can sort of take the reins off and really start to grow revenue and grow clientele and grow ability and grow software, right? And things they can do and innovate and touch, right? How is it going to translate to the corporate world? That's a big key, but there's more freedom, a little less restrictions, less red tape in the corporate world than the government space, right? There's obviously open to litigation and all that type of stuff, no matter where you are. But, you got to do your research, right? Listen, Palantir has also been protested, right? You do your research. You'll see where people have protested Palantir, right? Because of their role in, this conflict, that conflict. And what did we read there 2 years ago in the article? Palantir was one of the very first companies on the scene in Ukraine. One of the very first companies on the scene in Ukraine, right? There's been protesters about what's going on over in Israel, right? Because Palantir provided, Israel with intelligence and surveillance, and they used their company for that. And there's been people who have protested Palantir because of that, right? So these are things that you pick up and you learn. So one thing that I like to do on this channel, guys, is sometimes I do some of the research for you and tell you and give you a heads up to what's going on. So you got to know all these things before you jump into Palantir. You got to know all the issues they face, the role they play. Go back and look at some history. Go through their website. Go through their quarterly earnings. Figure out how they have a competitive advantage somewhere in their industry, right? And what's the future look like? How are they growing over the last several quarters or more, right? This looks like a company that could grow. And we could be talking about Palantir in a year from now at $55 per share. At $65 per share in a year from now. And you would be saying, hey, I wish I had got in at $25. So these are things that you got to think about when you're investing. You got to do your own research. Could it grow up to how another stock that I may end up talking about? This one is the semiconductor, SMCI. Is it SMCI? I think I'm calling out that ticker symbol properly, right? Yeah, Super Micro Computer Inc. Hey, that Super Micro Computer might be a stock that's in line to do a split, right? Over the next 6 months or so, 6 months to a year. They could end up doing a split. I think they're trading, just over $900 or so? Super Micro Computer. So when it comes to these stocks, hey, by the way, let me throw this out at you. Super Micro Computer, SMCI, they do the data center upgrades for next gen servers and other updates to update NVIDIA stuff. They're the company who does some of the data center upgrades, right? Whenever you build a data center, a year, 2 years, 3 years later, there's upgrades that have to take place. SMCI, we'll talk. Maybe we should do a video about SMCI, guys. Let me know in the chat if you would be interested in digging into that. Me spending some time digging into SMCI as a potential buy, or as a potential hold, or as a potential runaway to the other side of the room, right? But what I like to do is try to introduce these things to you guys and give you the totality of what you got to look at when you're actually doing some individual stock picking, right? Somebody says, I own one share. Palantir, I believe, is working with the Polish government as well. Palantir, what they provide is, they're an American company, but what they provide, good point, Eros, what they provide is applicable to worldwide governments. It's not just applicable to America, right? It's applicable to nations worldwide, companies worldwide, right? Something to really think about, right? Let's see. Somebody said, anyone own NVDA? What about Broadcom? We talked a little bit about Broadcom. Broadcom might be one we need to look at a little bit closer, right? They're doing a split coming up in July. And as we get closer to Broadcom split, I probably will have a couple of videos I'm going to talk about Broadcom as well. Because a split, remember I talked about earlier that on the other my membership site over there is where we're going to be digging into some of these individual companies. And one of the pieces or strategies that I like to employ or look at is company splits. Before the split, just after the split, sometimes when you see that lull. So, we might be talking about Broadcom in the next week or so as well, because we want to say, hey, there's more companies that are benefiting from AI than just NVIDIA. Broadcom, the semiconductor, Palantir, these are all companies that could be benefiting from this boom in AI, boom in cybersecurity, cyberspace, which we know there's already been a boom, right? But it's just the beginning, in my opinion, in terms of what AI is going to do, right? Broadcom, JC, Broadcom split is going to be a 10-for-1 split. I forget what day in July it's going to be. And that's why you've seen a recent uptick in Broadcom. Super Micro, absolutely. So let's see what else we got here. Please don't buy this stock expecting to get rich. Yes, Jesse James, do your research and stick to a plan. If you don't know what you're doing, hire somebody or get some help. Jesse, wonderful chat comment. Absolutely. I'm not suggesting you buy any stock. I'm just telling you what to look for, what's out there, what could be out there. You got to know. Right? I'm giving you something to do your own research on. You got to do your own research. No, I don't own any Equinix REITs. I certainly don't. I don't want to own the REITs that are attached to the data centers. I'm not there. I'm not convinced that that's going to be of any significance at this point. I've done a little research on that, Riggs, man, but I'm not a REIT person, and although I do own a REIT ETF, I'm not big and invested in a lot of different REITs, right? And I'm not sure that is going to be a winner necessarily. Let's see. CrowdStrike is killing it this year too. People are mentioning. I appreciate you guys mentioning these other AI stocks that could be places to look. And the key is do your research though. Don't just take it from somebody on a chat on a YouTube video. Very important, guys. Somebody says would have to wait for split SMCI to split. Let's see here. Why people never talk about ASML, I'm not sure. I'm buying Broadcom on the split, said Frank Ellis. Let's see here. Somebody said, I'll stick with NVIDIA. The key is this, guys. NVIDIA is one stock. Spread your diversity around. I bought 8 more stocks of shares of NVIDIA today. I may buy PLTR slowly but surely. Pablo, do your research. Let's see here. Same here, buying Broadcom after the split. Let's see. I bought PLTR at $15, sold for 10. Broadcom split is July 12th. Thanks, Frank, for letting me know that. Let's see. So this is my point, guys. Palantir has an opportunity. Palantir, ticker symbol PLTR, has an opportunity. Could be the next NVIDIA. I don't see the growth potential like that, but guess what? 10 years ago, people were saying the same thing about NVIDIA. I don't see the growth spurt. I don't see it. It's been kind of languishing here and there, right? But you just never know. Appreciate it. JT Coin Rings. Thanks for the super chat. I appreciate it so much. Thank you for that super chat. I appreciate it. So, guys, do me a favor. Hit the like button. Smash the like button. If you're in here, take out 2 seconds, guys, just as a show of appreciation, and hit the like button for me on this video. Also, share the link. If you know somebody who's just now getting into buying stocks, just now getting into the stock market and trying to understand the market, please share this information with them. Could be important information that could help and propel them as well in terms of their portfolio. Or it could just be a learning opportunity for them. And if you do watch this on replay, check out the chat section. It's lively with people who have a little bit of information and knowledge and who are also mentioning quite a few stocks in the chat section as well. I appreciate that, guys. Yes, hit that like button for me. Don't just hit it. Don't just hit the like button. Smash the like button for me if you can. I really would appreciate it, guys. Also, in the chat section, check out Mint Mobile, my partner on these live streams, and also check out the link. That was a hard K. The link below, right? So again, guys, do your own research. I hope this video has at least helped you guys out, at least give you something to think about who Palantir is, what they do, what some of the challenges are that they face coming up in terms of ethical issues. Read up on ontology, 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 but it seeps into an area that could be very interesting, right? You want to read up on that, guys. But do me a favor. Take good care of yourself, guys. As I always say, well, let me say it how I always say it, right? I appreciate you guys being here. We got nearly 400 people watching. And as Mrs. Moore said, we only got 170 likes. We should have 300 likes in here, right? At least 300 likes in here, guys. You got to smash that like button as just a favor for me being able to spend this time with you guys and at least give you some information to think about. Hit that thumbs up button for me. Hey, as I always say, the best person who's going to take care of the old you is the young you. Guys, do me a big favor. As always, take good care of yourself and take care of other people. Until the next video, peace.